Hey guys, it's Remy from Kensui Fitness, and in today's interview, I had the pleasure of talking to Mervin Munoz, who's an absolute beast. So in this video here, you can see him doing the Sally Up, Sally Down challenge with 30 pounds or something onto him, and this is a really hard challenge even without any weight. So the fact that he can do it with even 30 pounds is crazy. He's also able to perform 50 consecutive bodyweight pull-ups, which is something only a handful of people in the world can do. In addition, he's also mastered not just endurance, but he can also do like very crazy one rep max stuff. So here's a video of him doing a muscle ups with 65 pounds or 30 kilos. And on top of that, he's over 40 years old. He's got multiple kids, so he's a busy guy as well. And somehow, even with all of that, he manages to be fitter than 99.9% of people who are in their 20s, like myself. So there's a lot of value to be gained from this interview. He shares a lot of cool tips and training techniques, including one called the double PR technique that he uses. So that's all I have to say, and I hope you enjoy the interview.
Are the gyms open where you are?
Yeah, the gyms are open right now. I haven't been to the gym, but I think with masks and social distancing, it's all up and running for the most part.
So I guess you've been training. You've been training at home throughout the whole COVID thing, and have you been doing that even before COVID, or?
Yeah, even before COVID, I was already training mostly at home or playgrounds, parks, wherever. The whole beauty of calisthenics is that you could do it anywhere. So.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So it's already recording. So I hope the viewers can just.
Yeah.
All right. So maybe you can give us a background, like when you started calisthenics and how and why you started calisthenics.
I started calisthenics February of 2016.
Okay.
I was on a trip with my wife, and I decided, I'm going to make that day one of my calisthenics journey. I got into it mainly because of the flexibility of the training. Prior to that, I was doing a lot of weight training, and that would call going to the gym. It'd take me about 30 minutes to get there, 15 minutes or so to set up, and then train for about an hour and a half. And by the time I get home, it's like a 3.5 hour, ordeal. And just sometimes I didn't feel like the training was there because you got to fight for equipment, and sometimes you just don't get to run the routines that you want. So I tried calisthenics out, and, over time, learned more and more about it, and it just became my thing. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I guess, did you just start with regular bodyweight calisthenics, or did you, because now I see most of your stuff, or I mean, a good chunk of it is weighted calisthenics, not just for the vest, but you also do like muscle ups with 45 pounds, which is quite impressive. Yeah. You do that for like many rounds, right? Like.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, they're not the cleanest, but my whole philosophy is, if it's not something that you condition or train often, if you can make it over the bar, it's an accomplishment in itself. Because, adding any kind of weight to your body and trying to muscle up with it with perfect form is really tough. But it was one of those things, I just wanted to check off that box saying I did do it.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was strictly body weight. I didn't really know much about the whole weighted scene at that time, weight belts and all that. And the weight vests, again, that's because if you're not familiar with it, as common as it is in that in the community, if you don't see it or you don't use it, you wouldn't know. But yeah, just the basic stuff. It was just basically push-ups. I mean, that was my thing. Everyone knows push-ups, like the staple of it all. So just did a lot of push-ups in the beginning, and then dips, and then pull-ups, and then just kind of went from there.
Gotcha. And you're quite busy as well. I mean, you have a family, I saw, and there's probably another reason why you can't afford to spend 3 hours at the gym, right? You gotta
right.
Bring bread to the table. You gotta take care of your kids, etc.
Yeah, and I did have a membership. I'm not going to name gyms, but I would just go there for the pull-up bar, and then I was like, I'm driving all this way for that. So that's when I just invested and just got something decent to put in the backyard. It's not level, it's not even, it's shaky, but it saves a lot of time. I could just walk out the door and I'm there, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, I do have a family. I got 3 children. I'm married and I work long hours. So basically getting any kind of training time, it's tough to get any specific days or time to train. It's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your age?
I am actually 41 young.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're doing things that, you know, most people at their prime can't even do. They're, you know, 20. I mean, I'm 28 and I look at your workouts and I'm like, Jesus, like how is this even done? I can't even watch. It's so like brutal and long. I can't even watch the whole thing. You know, I have ADHD or whatever. You can't, like, you do so many pull-ups in a row. It's like, okay, I can't even watch this whole video. And it's
Understood.
that, right? Like it's more than a
Yeah.
minute. You said it's more than a minute, so it has to be in like the Instagram Reels.
Yeah, and I do that because I started a YouTube account so I could start documenting my journey, and it could serve as a library of resources for me to look back on. There's some sets that I look back on like, wow, I did that. Like, and I'm thinking, would I want to do that now? I'm like, no, it's kind of like those one and done type deals.
Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube, I just kind of, those are long videos. And again, it's more like of a documentation for me to say, yeah, I did do it. Because, you know, sometimes there's that saying that if you don't have proof, you didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I like to say I did it for the most part. But
especially
yes.
if you're competing with other guys and you're like, oh, if you don't believe me, here's a set. Like it's on YouTube.
Yeah. So there's a set that comes around or whatnot. You're like, oh, wait, I did this or something like this. You know, here's what I did. But, you know, it's all fun, you know, just staying active, trying to stay healthy. So
are you part of a community where you like have other guys that are also training like you, and you guys pick your sets together, or are you kind of doing it individually?
I'm mostly solo for the most part.
Okay.
My really good friend and training partner, he lives about 2.5 hours away. So we'll just communicate like, you know, via whether it's FaceTime or, you know, WhatsApp or whatever. And we'll just drop sets or say, hey, this is what I'm working on, and go back and forth. But for the most part, all my training, it's just basically listening to crickets at night and or music and just doing what I can. So yeah, it's very challenging training by yourself. At the same time, I think you can be at your strongest because you have no motivation other than yourself.
Yeah.
And when you do get people around you that are like-minded, it only exponentially makes you that much more motivated. So training by yourself from the top, you know, you got to have a strong mindset to do that, to stay strict and disciplined to what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like a good and bad. Like if you have a training partner, it can also be a pain in the butt to have to coordinate. And if one of you is lazy, it drags the other person down. But yeah, if you're really self-disciplined, then training alone is actually great. Like, it depends on the person. And how about your kids? Do you try to get them to train as well? How old is
you know what there was a point where I would want them to train. Now it's kind of like they're asking me to train, like, Dad, are you training today? Or Dad, can we do this and that? And sometimes I'm just like, I wasn't planning on it, but if you want to, Dad will come out there. So my son's actually active. He's in soccer.
Gotcha.
Travel soccer, and my daughter is in competitive gymnastics. And then my little one, I call him my little gamer. This is all he does, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, it's exercising his hands to some degree. But yeah, so basically they're always doing conditioning sets already. But sometimes they'll join me on the bar. You know, they'll try to do pull-ups. They'll try to get a muscle up in. They'll get it where they get to the bar and then they're kind of climbing over with their forearms, but they're making it over the bar, which is just great, because I remember when I first started, that's what I was doing, just trying to get over the bar. You know, I got a ring set up. You know, my daughter's into gymnastics, so I got some rings, so we'll do some stuff on that. So yeah, I don't really need, there's no coaxing them into it. They'll do it. If I say, hey, Dad wants to do some push-ups, they'll join me. My little one might jump on my back, but yeah, they're pretty much into it.
Wait, so for women's gymnastics, is the ring part of the event, the sport, or it's only for men?
No, as far as I know, no. But I have them just for my training, but I know that that's something that she's always been interested in. Like we'll watch some of the clips from Olympics and stuff. She goes, "Oh, the rings are so cool." So I was like, why not just go ahead and get a set? Because they are functional, you know, they hit different muscles. And she likes to basically hang on them and do that. I guess they call skin to cat, where they kind of turn your whole body over and come around. And just like inverted hangs and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, I think rings just translate to pretty much every sport just because of the instability. I mean, you just need all sorts of athleticism to really, you know, excel at the rings anyways. So
yeah, the rings will humble you real quick if you've never used them. You know, it's like if
definitely.
you think you can do this many push-ups and this many dips or pull-ups, you do those rings, oh my goodness, they those things hit if you're not conditioned for them.
yeah, they're harder for everything, even for pull-ups. It's surprisingly much harder than the bars. You gotta, I think it takes more forearm as well, like than the bars.
Right.
So which state are you in?
I'm sorry?
Which where in the US are you based?
Oh, Virginia.
So like in the winter, does it get quite cold?
Yeah, it does. It gets a little bit cold. We got some snow a little bit this year, but we don't really get much snow. But yeah, it does get cold, and during those times, you know, I hibernate. You know, as much as I want to go outside, I'm warm. I'm a warm person from Florida, so I love the hot weather. I can take some humidity, but cold weather, no. Once in a while, I'll go outside, but I'm not a cold weather person.
You train, because right now I think you train outdoors quite often, right? But so in the winter.
Yeah, now that the weather's warmer, yes, definitely. Okay. Most of the time.
You train inside when the weather is really cold. You're not one of those crazy people that likes to train outside in the snow or something.
You know, I used to for like the cool video effects and footage, but I would get colds and stuff like that. So now I'd rather not.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe it's not optimal. So are you like, because I think a lot of your training style also like is very similar to like Zeph's style, right? Like in the Barbarians, they do a lot of the push-ups on the bar and just crazy volume. Right. Yeah. So that's what it's like. Are you like, is there like a community that you guys like, you hang out with like those kind of guys, or not really?
No, I'm the only one here because I'm in Virginia, and I believe, you know, Zeph's out in New York. But, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do see that, you know, influences or inspires or motivates me, you know, I catch through social media, through Instagram and YouTube and stuff like that. But the bar push-ups, I kind of like to use because traditional push-ups on the floor tend to hurt my wrist, you know, get them sore for a long time. Bar push-ups don't so much, you know, even if I do high volume. And the great thing with the, you know, the bar push-ups, I don't know, I just gravitate to those more. So if I have a choice between floor push-ups or like a parking lot that has like those little parking stumps or whatever, I'll do that. Just, I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
No, I mean, part makes sense. Probably the wrist thing. Like for me, I didn't really understand like why they would do it on the bar instead of just the floor. But I mean, that makes sense. If you guys are doing thousands of push-ups, like it is going to mess up your wrist eventually. So it makes sense to use that when you have a neutral grip.
Right.
Yeah. And how many times a week do you train?
It varies. You know, maybe three to 6 times a week, but it all depends on how. Sorry about that. That's a loud Maserati rolling by. But it depends on how you define training. Sometimes I might say I train 6 days a week, but 3 or 4 of those days might just be a 5 or 10 minute set, you know, like I said, with my lifestyle. But if you're considering training like 1 hour sessions, maybe if I'm lucky once a week, but for the most part, my training averages 10 to 25 minutes, 30 minutes.
Oh, so you keep it very short, but I guess it just.
Yeah, I do a lot of, yeah. So on those videos where you said it's like long drawn out, those were those days where I had like a specific set in mind or routine that was like one of those mindset hurdles that I just wanted to say that I can last through it and endure it, the pain and the mindset anguish. But for the most part, now I need to streamline it more. So I'll do more time-based training, whether I work every minute on the minute type training or calculated rest times, trying to hit certain rep counts, or just, whatever I need to get that done. So yeah, so most of my training is more time-based, streamlined right now.
Gotcha. And do you utilize like any like cardio as well, like on those or?
Yeah, cardio. I would say the only cardio I really get is chasing my kids around or biking with them, or the bar sets where you're doing those bar complexes, but not so much. I would like to, but again, it's kind of like, do I want to do some bar sets? Do I want to do push-ups and dips, or do I want to go run or do something? But, the extent of my cardio would be like burpees or something like that, or jumping jacks, but nothing like your traditional cardio workouts.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen your videos of like you also do like these kind of long drawn out squat sessions, right? So I suppose that's
which one.
I think I saw a few workouts where you're doing like squats. Maybe you had like 45 pounds on you, like not like a squat, but not a little, and you were just doing a lot of squats.
Well, yeah, there was one where, actually, there was this one set I haven't posted up yet, just to give you some insight on, like, squats for me. It's just, I'm not really much of a legs trainer, but I just started doing that recently in the past month or so. But I noticed starting working my legs is translating to overall body strength. So what I did the other day, I had you've probably seen my videos where I'll set up the bars like low, medium, high on my deck. And I did a routine with a 45-pound plate where I did 20 push-ups on the low bar, and then I did 20 squats. And then I went to the medium bar, 20 push-ups, 20 squats, and then on the high bar, 20 push-ups, 20 squats. And then I went back down and worked the pyramid 18, 18 down to 2, 2, going on each bar with squats behind each set of push-ups. But I did miss my squats on the high bar. I just so much calculation and trying to remember the set. So I like to compound my squats. I don't normally train squats by themselves. I like to mix it in with something. So if I'm doing, time-based training, I might do a movement, a squat, and then alternate back to the other movement. Yeah.
When you say low bar, medium bar, high bar for the push-ups, I mean the high bar is like the easiest variation because you're
compared to those 3 levels. So your low bar push-up would be the bar literally just on a flat surface, the basic surface, and then the medium bar would be like a step up, and then the high bar would be like 2 steps up. But there's different variations to the medium and the high bar, or even low bar, depending if it's at a park or how you have it set up at home, depending on what you have to level it out. But yeah, I like to mix up the different bar heights as well.
You ever do like so I mean that's all like incline push-ups, right? Different heights. Do you ever do the
yeah, you have your it's like almost like a flat bench, a slight incline, and then almost up. Yeah.
Well, it's actually, when you do an incline push-up, it's more a decline bench press, right? So you'd have to, like, the way you were describing it.
Yeah. So I think it's more if you're inclined, because then now your body's like, okay, so this is your what do you call it?
Flat.
Low bar.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like at your medium bar, and then your high bar would be like this. So
yeah.
You're almost like in an upright position.
Yeah. But
versus decline.
Yeah, but so when you're doing that incline push-up, it's the same as doing a decline bench press.
Wow, it does. I feel like the decline would feel a lot harder than doing the incline push-up. So I'm trying to gather it all up. Yeah. You may be right. But yeah.
Let me see. I'm looking at some of the questions.
Right.
It says one of the questions, what rep ranges do you focus on? But it seems like you focus on like all rep ranges, usually the higher rep ranges, right? Like,
well, okay. So when I'm doing time-based training, they're like lower rep ranges, like your 20 to 30 reps, depending if I'm weighted or not. If I'm doing the high rep range, it might be 50 to 100. And obviously when I say that, that's mostly on push-ups.
You don't break, just 100 like nonstop.
Some of the sets are geared that way. Yeah, I've hit 300 on the low bar unbroken.
Like when you say unbroken, is that like not even like breaking at the hip and resting a little bit?
Okay. Okay. I know there's different Okay. So basically without breaking the bar. So I'll maintain plank position, but it won't be a fluid motion like 300 straight. You know what I mean? Like nonstop.
You would rest at the top like this. You would rest at the top.
Yeah, like at a plank, like you're planking.
Yeah. Right. I mean, even that's hard because you still have to activate like the chest muscles so you can hold that plank a little bit.
Right.
I guess if you retract, it's a bit easier, but that's
yeah. I mean, obviously over time, you know, the plank holds may not be as crispy clean, but you know, the whole goal is to just try to get it out there. But you know, sometimes I'll do 5 sets of 100 push-ups for those kind of like days I just want to hit myself hard and then ask myself, why am I doing this? But other times, like I said, a lot of time-based training. But yeah, that 300 push-ups was inspired by someone that has inspired me to do that journey. His name's Anthony LeCue, if you look him up on YouTube. So I can't take credit for going for that goal without mentioning his name. So
is he someone who also did those 300 push-ups?
Yeah, he's actually the first one that I saw do it. He actually got me on that journey early on, maybe a couple years ago, maybe in 18. It started off with the 200 push-ups. And then after I did that, you know, he was already, I think, at 300 push-ups. And it took me a year to catch up to that, or 2 years. But, you know, it's just one of those things, one of those days, like, let me give it a try and just go all out on it. And I hit it. So, you know, sometimes you'll see something that seems impossible and real, but it doesn't mean it's unattainable. You just really got to put the work in. And I think 90% of that work is really strengthening your mind, because so many of these sets that are long drawn out or whatnot, it all comes to your mind. Like, are you ready to break, or are you ready to push on? And a lot of times I say to myself, I have a certain rep count that once I hit that rep count, I try as much possible not to break that set. Like, I just have to keep going, because you work so hard to get that far. You don't want to break like on the last rep, you know? Yeah. So
that's great. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever even tried to do more than 50. Like, I'll do 50. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. Like, but yeah, maybe I'll try for 100 one day. Have you ever tried I'm assuming it's really easy for you. Like, have you ever done the Sally up, Sally down challenge with the push-ups?
Actually, it's funny you say that, because I posted up on my, I think my Instagram reel, or I did a YouTube shorts. I did it with the plate, with the Kensui. And
so you did that with the 45 pounds.
Yes. And I think I did the whole song with a 20-pound vest a couple of years ago, the whole song.
Okay.
But yeah, I did it with the Kensui because, you know, I was like, let me try as many things I can do with the Kensui Easy vest.
Yeah.
And that was perfect, because if I didn't have that vest, you know, you'd have to balance that plate on your back, and it would slide to the lower, you know, your lower back, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a great challenge. And I did it with squats also with the Kensui with a 45-pound plate. Man, that thing hurts in that bottom hold.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten close. I'm trying to remember if I got it to the end or not. I think I got really close and I didn't get it. I'm trying to remember.
Right.
But regardless, I mean, it's one of those things, like, it felt like it would be possible. I just actually have to like train it for like a month or something.
Yeah. And, you know, those are one of those, you know, you could actually use that song as a training session and use it for all movements, you know, like just how far can you get bringing Sally up, you know, because I think the song in total is about 3 minutes, 27 seconds. Yeah. So if you think about it, that's basically 327 or 3 minutes, 27 seconds of active movement for the most part, mixing in what I would call like isometric. So when you're holding, you know, when you bring Sally up, you're waiting there till you have to bring it down, you know? So each time you're kind of like in an isometric hold before doing the active reps. Yeah. So it's a burner for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the only thing it doesn't really work for is the pull-ups because it ends up just training your grip as opposed to your, like your back. I'm not sure if you
Yeah,
have
it's
tried
tough
it with the pull-ups.
with the pull-ups. Yeah, it's definitely tough. Yeah, you're right. It does work grip a lot more than the movement itself, I think, because you know you're burning your grip. Without the grip, you can't really pull up anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah,
When you do your pulling workouts, do you use chalk?
I actually just started using chalk. My daughter actually got it as a gift for me. She's like, Dad, because she notices I wear my gloves, but sometimes the gloves, depending on what bars I use, it's too slippery or it's too sticky. But I started using chalk. Um, I'm and it's still ripping my skin up.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, because I think the friction, even though the light moisture in your hands mixed with the chalk and then the friction with the bar. So I kind of got one here from yesterday. So
Okay.
and that was the first set with the chalk.
Yeah, but it's probably because
Yeah.
you were wearing gloves the whole time, so your hands are probably not as used to the chalk. But I've never used gloves because I always found like, yeah, even if the traction between the glove and the bar is good, like your hand is going to slip inside the glove, doesn't it?
I think it
Not that
depends on
glove.
what kind of gloves you use. I've used gardener gloves, but the one that seemed to work well were baseball gloves. They just had that material that could kind of slide with the bar, but you still had a nice grip. But certain sets, I would just have to go with no gloves just because I needed that raw grip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sometimes going for long sessions with pull-ups with no gloves or no chalk, unless you're conditioned for it, it takes a toll. All those calluses and all those rip skin. So
Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think your hands get used to it. I mean, maybe it's different if you do the sets that you do, because I don't think I do as much volume as you. But
right,
yeah,
right.
for regular training, I mean, for me, chalk has done a good thing, and I actually like chalk is so good that sometimes I feel like I need to lay up, like, don't use the chalk, but because I become dependent on it. And if
Right.
you want to really train your grip, I think it's important to do like 50-50. So sometimes I'll like not bring the chalk, and maybe I won't be able to get as many reps, but I won't say it's not like I got worse at pull-ups. I just say this, it's almost like two different types of sets. One's a chalk pull-ups and one's a no chalk pull-ups.
Yeah, Remy, I totally agree with that because it also sometimes, like you said, that dependency. Sometimes I'll go to a park and I'm like, oh, wow, this is a perfect setup to try something or to run a quick set or routine. But I'm like, I don't have my gloves. So automatically I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to perform. So it's kind of like what you get used to.
Yeah.
So like you said, I try to mix it up so that way I'm not dependent on it psychologically. Like if I don't have them, I can't perform well on them. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I would not, if I forgot my chalk, I would just like lose the motivation to train. Like it's not good to, when you forget it in your gym bag or something. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in terms of gloves, I actually found it really beneficial for training handstands. Like surprisingly, chalk and gloves is great for handstands. And I mean, the problem with chalk is that it can get messy, and you use it up, so you have to refill it. So for
Right.
pull-ups, it was, for me, I thought it was just better than gloves. But for handstands, I think gloves might actually be better because it works the same as
Right.
chalk free, but it just doesn't get messy. So.
Yeah, especially if you're doing it indoors on a laminate surface or whatnot. Palms get sweaty and you start sliding.
Yeah,
Right. You experience that? Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, on like the
Right.
wooden, if you have like a wooden surface, like MDF boards or whatever, then
Right.
you don't really need chalk as much. So
Right.
when you do these crazy sets, like, do you get really sore, or are you just like past that point?
I'm past that point now. Before there would be a point where like I couldn't train for a whole week. It's just like, man, it hurts so much. But now I feel the pain during the set. But the next day I'm good to go. I may not hit that exact same set again, but I could train again normally. So my body's gotten used to it now.
Oh, nice. I don't know, for me,
Yeah.
I train quite often, like, all the time, but I've never really gotten over the DOMs. Like I just continually get DOMs. So
I mean, I
weird
still
little-
get it to some degree, but not to the point where like I just I can't train, but yeah, it still hits there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I've noticed that, like, if I have DOMs, but then if I just warmed up a bit more, then I can kind of, like, it goes away.
Yeah,
In like 10 minutes.
exactly.
Let's see. Actually, maybe you can just tell us what your records are for each of these movements. So, I mean, you did 300 push-ups. Do you also have a record for your pull-ups and your dips?
Okay, so I've hit I guess this would be my calisthenics resume then, right?
Yeah,
So I've hit 51 pull-ups on my outdoor bar. I've hit 52 pull-ups on my indoor bar. Another set, it's a classic, they call 5MD, 5-minute drill, something that I saw, another one of my inspirations, his name's Ice, he goes by Ice Water Film, he's also on YouTube and all that, was 50 pull-ups into 100 push-ups, unbroken, so in under 5 minutes. And yeah, so basically when I did it was in my backyard. So 51 pull-ups into, I doubled up on the push-ups. I like to have things balanced. 102 push-ups. I've done, like I said, the 300 push-ups on the low bar body weight. I've done 220 push-ups with a 10-pound vest on the low bar. So 220, yeah, push-ups with a 10-pound vest. The other day, I put the Kensui vest and I had two 45-pound plates, so 90 pounds. I ran a 300 rep routine with that in an hour. And then 5 minutes after that, did 105 push-ups, body weight, unbroken. What are some other things? Dips, I've hit, I think 105 unbroken. And once I hit that, I was like, you know what? Might as well try to go hit push-ups right after. So I think about it after a 2-minute rest period, I matched in, did 105 push-ups on the low bar unbroken. Bar dips, I think was at 100. You know, I've done bar complexes over 100. So those are some of the more notable things that kind of pop out in my mind. Oh yeah, I've done the 5-minute plank with the Kensui vest with 45 pounds for 5 minutes. And then I took it into, I took like maybe a 30-second recharge and then did 100 push-ups as fast as I could after that.
So you like breaking PRs and then just doing 100 push-ups after it just for fun.
Yeah, my thing is, here's my thing. Sometimes we'll hit a PR and who knows, that might be the only time we'll ever be able to hit it. So why not add on to it, you know?
Okay.
So for example, on the 50 pull-ups, that's great. I mean, I would have been happy with that, but I was like, if I didn't take that opportunity to do something else behind it, maybe I'll never get those 50 pull-ups again. Then I would have lost that opportunity to kind of double PR. Okay. So when I hit my dips, and again, the dips at that time, I was still working them in. So they weren't like the best dips, but they were also decent for that time in my journey. I couldn't pass up hitting 105, 100 behind that.
Yeah.
So same thing with the 100 bar dips, muscle up into the 100 bar dips, coming down and doing 100 push-ups behind that as well. And I think I hit some other stuff behind that. So that's my only thing, when you go for PRs, if you have an opportunity to add more PRs behind it, why not?
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, the 105 dips, that's like super impressive as well. Like,
right.
It
took some time. That's the first time. It took me 5 years to get there. And again, it's partly because I didn't do a lot of dip focused training. My training kind of fluctuates here and there based on what my interests are. Because there was a time, I got to tell you this, Remy, it was funny. It got to a point as far as push-ups were concerned, when body weight and like the 10 and 20 pound vests were just kind of too light. And it got to a point when I saw the Kensui product pop up on Instagram and I was talking to my training partner, we're like, yeah, we need to get that. So I think he and I did not train push-ups for 3 months. Like we might do a push-up set here, but we didn't actually train push-ups because we were waiting for the Kensui vest because it added that new element of like another wow factor, like stuff, new territory that we haven't been in, trying to hit similar sets with that weight on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can only add so much vest. And I was like, I could buy a 50 or 60 pound vest, but now I can buy something where I can put weight on it and change the intensity based on what I put on or take off.
Gotcha. So before the vest, you were actually focusing more on dips, and then you kind of decided now you can start doing actually like good workouts and push-ups as well. Not the dip.
No, my training majority of the time was push-ups.
Gotcha. So you prefer?
I would say the majority of all my training was push-ups. I neglected pull-ups for many years, and it was just not till this past year that I really got into pull-ups. But yeah, dips was one of those things where it was that movement where I would have a good session, but I get that upper chest strain.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do them anymore. So, that led to certain movements just kind of lead me to injury. And I think part of it was just not proper stretching and not conditioning that muscle enough. And then jumping into like high rep sets or more demanding sets without having built the progressions to get there.
Gotcha. All right. Well, firstly, it seems impressive that like you just started doing pull-ups like in the last year or so, and you've already been able to do 51. That's crazy. And then actually, this is a good time to go into the topics of injury because you just mentioned it. It's like what are the injuries that you've had in your last 5 years of training, and how did you overcome them, and what have you learned from them?
All right. So I've had 3 chest injuries. And the first one was very notable. I couldn't do push-ups for like probably close to a month and a half, 2 months. It was just overdoing it. At that time, there was those, high rep routines, 1,000 reps here, 1,000 reps there, and it just got to the point where I was repping so fast that I just heard something pop, like a rubber band, like just kind of snapping. Okay. And I couldn't even raise my arm. And it happened to be a pretty deep muscle strain. So from that, it was just like, I was kind of hard-headed. So I would still train, but I would train around it. Like I just have to stay active. So basically in doing that, it was just trying to find movements that I could work around it. And I think because of that and not allowing to heal properly, I think my range of motion in certain movements you can see in the camera, like in my push-ups, like my right arm will lock out fully. My left arm will be almost at like an 8, not completely, maybe 3/4. And when I do pull-ups, like fast reps, you'll notice that my right arm will lock out more than my left. So that's, again, not allowing my body to heal properly, just rushing the process. Because sometimes you feel like if you don't get back on that bar or do reps, you're going to lose your strength level. But sometimes not allowing yourself to rest kind of puts you behind even more. So that was it. I would still rep on injury. And that's what caused me to think differently at my age now. If I'm not feeling it, I'll take a week off if I have to.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I've come to that conclusion as well. I think I've talked to some other people about it. But like, yeah, you have to really make sure the injury is like 100% healed. Because if it's only like 95% healed and you get back into it, a lot of times you can start all the way back at 0, and then you have to wait another few weeks for the injury to heal. So
yeah, and
that's the one.
Go ahead.
Injury. You said you got 2 more.
Yeah, and the other one, like on this part of my elbow, like I experienced a lot of strain because it was this summer where I was trying to hit new levels, with you saw the weighted muscle ups, weighted bar complexes. Like I did 2 30-day journeys. I think I did 100 pull-ups every day. And, on top of whatever I did with the plate. And then I also did bar complexes, try to get 30 sets in. And over time, that really took a toll on my elbow. And again, I didn't train to get to that point. I was forcing those levels to come. And from that, it started hurting my lower back too. So I still have lower back pain since then, which is why I haven't trained much with the plate on my waist. Then that's why I've been using the Kensui vest a lot more lately. So that was the elbow injury. And well, maybe that was it. Yeah. So for the most part, a lot of it was just being hard-headed, training on injury. thinking that, oh, even if I just do less reps, I'll be okay. But you're not allowing your muscles to heal properly. So it doesn't do much for you. And that's why I kind of laid off on pulls for the past couple of months, was from hitting all those PRs, but not allowing my body to rest took a toll on me. So, it is what it is. At least I can say I did it, but at the same time, if I would have known, I would have trained it differently.
Gotcha. So your chest is fine now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My chest is fine.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
In terms of warming up, do you have like a warm up routine?
If you consider a couple of arm circles a warm up, not really. I mean, I'll do like a 5-minute stretch. Sometimes I'll take my baseball bat, take a couple of swings. But for the most part, I don't do any warm ups as far as like reps are concerned, like light reps. I just kind of get myself mentally prepared, do the proper stretching that I think I'll need, for that particular movement, and then just go at it. So, yeah.
Okay, so
that's my warm up.
Yeah,
my training, my workout is my warm up, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're just starting with body weight push-ups and that's your whole set, then I mean that's kind of the warm up, right?
Right.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you have a strict diet or eating schedule?
Not really. It's very flexible. I'll admit, I do the whole junk food, fast food thing. I mean, it's convenient. But working long hours, basically I run off of like coffee and, trail mix. And, I might get that one good dinner after a workout, but that's pretty much it. I wouldn't say my diet's the best, but, I get what I can. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And supplements, like, omega-3s or vitamin D, do you take any of those?
No vitamins.
No creatine?
No supplements.
Creatine?
What was that?
Do you take creatine?
What now? Oh, no.
No? Okay.
I'll take anything. Nothing. Yeah.
Let's see what else we got here. So, I mean, you were talking about baseball. So were you like a baseball player in high school or college or something?
Well, in high school, it is a funny thing. I think I had an opportunity to try out and play varsity, but, I always had that stage fright thing, being on center stage, or even just being around my peers. Like if you mess up, the whole world sees you. But I ended up like joining like a little league back then, still competitive, but, yeah, baseball was my thing. Played shortstop. I wanted to be a center fielder, but coach was like, no, you're quick enough to be shortstop. And I was like, that's where all the balls are going. Like, everyone's on you. So even though I try to avoid the spotlight, you're still kind of in the spotlight, because shortstop, if you know baseball, it's a lot of action at shortstop. But yeah, baseball was like my passion back in the day, for the most part. Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of like all the physical training that you've had before you started calisthenics. It came from baseball.
Yeah, actually, I started training when I was 12. I started training lightweight training when I was 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were doing that all until 2015 when you switched to calisthenics?
For the most part, I would say the majority of my training up until 2016 was primarily weight training. Okay. Yeah, on and off, obviously. The thing with weight training for me that I experienced was, sometimes it would get boring and you would take a day off. That day off would turn into 3 into a week, and then you wouldn't train for like a month. And when you're training weights, you have to build on that. So if any day's lost, it's like you can't get those levels back right away. But like on body weight training, are you still there?
Yeah, your video.
Okay, all right. Yeah, on body weight training, even if you take a week off, you won't fall that far off. But yeah, I started weight training when I was 12, just because I was very skinny, I looked very fragile, but, I was strong, but I didn't look like it. And, I always got picked on as a kid. So I felt like if I could mask it by looking a certain way, they would leave me alone, So that's why I got into weight training. And from there, it just became a hobby and something that I was passionate about.
Yeah, I guess you're saying like it's kind of harder to keep a routine for weight training if you have to drive 30 minutes to the gym and you have all these
Right.
barriers. Whereas like if it's just like in your backyard, it's a lot, harder to say no,
Yeah.
especially if it's just
Right.
a 20-minute workout or something, right? Like one of
Right.
your
Right.
time-based ones that you mentioned.
Right.
Let's see. Um, so let's talk about motivation. Like, who are the people that you look up to?
There's too many to name, I guess you could say, but there's a lot that inspire me.
Okay.
But on a day-to-day basis, I would say like even my children, my wife, like my wife, for example, she just got back on her running journey after taking several years off. Just certain things just kind of affect you where you just don't feel like doing anything. So she's back on her running cycles. My daughter, in gymnastics, she motivates me daily, doing the whole school thing and training. She trains four days a week, 4.5 hours a day on top of school.
Yeah.
So for me, like, there's no reason why I would say I can't train for even 10 minutes or do a set. And my son, doing soccer, again, I'm looking at their ages and I'm like, wow, they're a full ball of energy. They go to school and do all this stuff and they still do their extracurriculars. So they motivate me day in and day out because, again, when I look at them, I have no excuse not to do anything. But, my training partner, T. Lee, that's his name, Tony Lee, we motivate each other daily through just our conversations that go beyond reps, created a bond. So, as far as motivation, and then again, things that you see on social media, certain sets that's inspiring from many different people that make you want to try it or try something on the lines of that if it's, beyond my current fitness level. So, yeah.
Let's see. Actually, since your daughter does gymnastics, like, is there stuff like from her that you've gotten like inspiration to learn to start doing? Like, I don't know, maybe it's handstands, maybe it's flexibility or something like that.
Yeah, actually, sometimes pre-COVID, I'd watch her practices and warm-ups and all that, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, that is tough. I don't think I could even last 1 minute doing that stuff. They do these weird inchworm things and all that. But yes, definitely. She does a lot of like bar conditioning, a lot of, I guess they call them leg raises, but I guess in calisthenics, we would call them toes to bar. She does a lot of that stuff, a lot of those little jump squat stuff. So I kind of try to take elements that I see in her training and even in my son's soccer conditioning and try to incorporate it into my training. So I'm just very observant with my surroundings. So I'll see certain things that are just unrelated to training, but say, that might be something I can incorporate and put in there. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel like I should incorporate more of these like toe-to bars and the things
Right.
like the ab and is that like the hip flexor, like the one that you use for L-sits?
Yeah.
Because I definitely don't do enough of that. Let's see what else we got here for questions. Let's talk about your goals. Like, do you have some sort of set that you want to finish, or I don't know. Yeah, what are your strength goals or rep goals or anything like that?
Well, I think that's the whole thing with my goals. I think for the most part, what I initially set forth, I've already accomplished all those goals that I wanted, which is why I think at this point now I've started incorporating weights again into my training. Like, I don't have any current active goals that I'm trying to achieve right now. I'm just strength training and conditioning. So that way, if there is something that I do think of, I can go right at it. So, but right now, something that I do want to accomplish as far as the weight training part, I do want to start being able to curl 2 plates on the barbell. So curl 135 is something that I want to hit. But as far as calisthenics, it's just trying to, at this point, instead of hitting high rep ranges, I want to start creating routines that are enduring, that you need to be able to last through it. So it doesn't matter what your max pulls, push, dips are. It's different when you're hitting a certain routine that involves endurance, right? I mean, so that's kind of now what I'm trying to do, is create sets and routines that are, I don't want to say long drawn out, but will definitely hit you. And, obviously go with that whole unbroken aspect, trying to complete it as fast as you can without breaking the set. So stuff like that.
So do you actually now you brought up that you're started to train curls now to try to get this goal for the curls, but before that, like this last 4 years or so, were you mainly just doing compound movements for calisthenics, or were you actually incorporating some isolation on the side?
No. For the most part, it was body weight, and then weighted calisthenics in the past couple of years, I would say. When I say weighted calisthenics, for push-ups and dips with the vest. And then wherever you start seeing the plates, that's when I started incorporating more of the heavier weights. Gotcha. So, but for the most part, it was, yeah.
Let's see. Do you have something that is underrated, whether it be like a fitness product, like a fitness routine, or accessory exercise that has greatly helped you in getting stronger?
I would say the 10-pound vest that I have. I wouldn't say that it's underrated, but sometimes just adding a little bit of weight can go a long ways, especially if you're running it as if you're running a body weight routine. So eventually that low weight starts to become your body weight. And then at that point, that's when you start increasing it. So I think, lightweight weighted calisthenics can definitely skyrocket your levels to the point where it's too light. And I guess to plug in, the Kensui vest definitely worked wonders with certain sets that I want to hit, because I don't have to unclip a plate to put on a vest or whatnot. It's all inclusive for the most part. So the Kensui Easy Vest, and now, it's funny, I've had it since whenever I got it, when it first came out. I just watched your YouTube on how to adjust the straps, because I was always wondering why is it sitting so low? I'll see, videos, but I was like, maybe my body structure wasn't big enough to fill it in. Yeah. But it definitely, now that I've tightened it up, I was like, man, those sets that I ran in the past would have been so much more comfortable and not digging in my back. But yeah, I would say the Kensui, I've really used it a lot more frequently with my sets, now that I figured out the whole strap portion of it.
Yeah, it's funny. Michael Eckert was saying the same thing about just adding a little bit of weight and just kind of making it just like pretending like it's just body weight, but just like how you mentioned, it was very beneficial. So that's there must be something to it if two of you said the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, and in terms of the vest, if you actually just put, like, instead of just putting 45 on the front and 0 on the 45
right.
on the back, 0 on the front,
Yeah.
if you put a small amount on the front, it'll really help it like even out. Yeah.
Right,
so
right. And
worth considering.
It is. And here's the funny thing about that, I guess, fun fact for you. I only have 2 45-pound plates, and I only have 2 10-pound plates. So it's kind of a lack of options. It's either I go with the 10s or the 45. So,
gotcha.
But yeah, I'm going to test it out. I got 2 10s, so I'll put front and the back in lieu of the other weight vest that I have, because, the flaps around the waist start coming loose, the Velcro. Mm-hmm. So I'll be training that. And then with the 45, like you said, having a front will counterbalance it to some degree, pulling it down a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you can do like 45 on the back, 10 on the front, and it'll be 55 total. Right. I think it would be more balanced. And we actually, right. I don't know if you saw on our website, we have this new sleeve that like doesn't stick out. So for the push-ups, for example, if you can have 10 pounds, right. You still pretty much get a full range of motion.
Yeah, that was the other thing with the push-ups. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't train with the 90 early on, was because I tried on the low bar, and the little spindle extension would hit the bar.
Yeah.
So I just did away with that. But now I kind of take my two, because I got 3 push-up bars. I take 2 and I put them like in a parallel position.
Yeah.
And that's how I was able to run that routine with the 90-pound push-ups. But yeah, I think I saw that. I didn't get to look more into it, but that's something definitely I'll have to look into.
Yeah. Although they're not ready yet for the max. I think it'll be ready in a month or so. The pro, we already have the new sleeve, but
right.
Yeah, so it'll be about a month.
Right.
Let's see. I've got like 2 more questions.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe something that you know now that you wish you could tell your younger self that just started training.
I would say definitely stretch. Take rest days as needed, and don't feel like rest days are gonna weaken you, because those rest days are actually strengthening you more, because you come back refreshed, the muscles have time to heal. Because even though you're able to train every day, it doesn't mean you're getting stronger, so to speak, because you do need those rest days for recovery. And number 3, and this is something I would have definitely told myself early on, is try not to skip levels. To get to A to Z, you got to go through the rest of the alphabet. But somehow I just like to go to A, M, and then Z, because that will definitely take a toll on your body. And I mean, just my sets alone show you, like, I've hit certain levels, but my body has definitely suffered from that. And some of it I'm still feeling to this point. Do the necessary progressions that you need to get there. As excited as we are to want to get to that final stage, you got to build yourself up to that. And if you don't, you will get injured. And I've done it many times, getting injured doing that. And at the end of the day, it's kind of like, is it worth it? Is it worth hitting your goal and then being out of the game, or not being able to do certain movements to the best of your ability because of that? Or is it better to enjoy the journey and learn along the way and get stronger and eventually still unlock the same levels, So
yeah, I mean, I think I've had the same experience over time. Like, just put the ego aside, like, be more patient,
right,
lower the weight and do better form, especially for like isolation movements. I think it's
right.
important. Yeah, and
the one last thing I'd like to say is, don't compare yourself to anyone other than yourself, because your PR and someone else's PRs are different. So I always say you got to create a baseline. You got to know where your you got to know where you are at this point in time. If you don't know, you can't realistically set a goal if you don't know how to get there and you don't know where your current level is at. A lot of times before, I would say, oh, I want to hit this level, and constantly try to get there, but not know how to get there, and fighting every day to hit that final level, but not do the progression. So, again, oftentimes we might be on social media or whatnot, see something like, oh man, they're stronger than me or whatever. But, you got to look at their background. Some of them have been doing it 10, 15 years. They naturally have that talent. So at the end of the day, you kind of just got to look at yourself. I mean, that's your main competitor. Yeah. So that's the other thing. Don't compare yourself to anyone other than yourself. Yeah.
The hat says "believe the level." Is that something to do with is that your design?
Yes.
Okay.
It's something. It's funny. Like, my kids will always be around for a lot of my sets, and my closeout is always challenge yourself daily, believe in yourself, believe the levels. Keep that mindset strong, and the body will follow. And my kids will always tell the line, just like as I'm doing it, mocking me. Well, I don't know, mocking me, but they're always like, Dad, believe the levels. Like, they'll see me doing my set. Dad, how many more do you have to do? Dad, believe the levels. I'm like, dang, I can't like fail now, Yeah. So that's just something that I hold true. It's just, you got to believe the levels. You got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, you won't reach those levels. So.
All right. So the last question is, do you have like your best memory from your training?
Best memory from my training. That's a really good question, Remy. Well, I don't know if I can personally say my training, but in my training, seeing each of my kids watching me train and each of them doing a muscle up to the best of their ability, making it over the bar, seeing how hard they fought. And for me, that's kind of one of my more notable accomplishments, in the sense that sometimes you don't think that they're watching you or observing you, but when you do it day in and day out, in essence, they're absorbing what you're doing. They start feeding into that energy. They start buying into that philosophy. So when I see them doing what they do and knowing that I contributed to that, you know, that's, I guess, one of my accomplishments right there. It's not so much my personal accomplishments, it's what I'm able to give off to, you know, my children, you know, my legacy, having them take on that philosophy. So yeah, that's kind of the one thing that really sticks out, that one day at a park where each of them was able to, quote unquote, muscle up over the bar, however it took them to get there, but each kid did it. And I had tears of joy, you know, inside just seeing them do that. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all the questions I've had. And you know, I actually had a meeting that was supposed to happen 15 minutes ago, and I know you have to go as well at 10:30.
Oh, okay. Well, I appreciate the time. Thanks for reaching out, and you know.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And yeah, it's actually really cool. Like, yeah, I mean, you know, it's to have customers of the vest that are like at your level is also like very cool to see. So, and I
Right,
think
thank
a lot
you.
of the listeners of this are going to learn a lot as well. So I think it's a very good interview. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. I'm glad we could do it.